Inside the restored footage, the film opens in muted tones of grey and sepia. A vast industrial hall stretches into the distance, filled with the rhythmic pulse of machinery and the soft echo of countless footsteps on concrete floors. Dust hangs in the filtered light that enters through high windows streaked with soot. Rows upon rows of wooden workbenches line the space, each one occupied by a worker in uniform, men and women alike, moving with a precision that has been trained by repetition and necessity. This is the manual ammunition factory, somewhere deep inside the wartime heart of the 1940s, where millions of bullets were not stamped and packaged by machines, but rather assembled by hand, one after another, hour after hour, in a process as methodical as it was monumental. In this place, the war is not heard as explosions or seen in flames, but felt in the quiet, synchronized movements of thousands of hands. Sheets of brass arrive from foundries in heavy crates, each plate measured, inspected, and fed into presses that punch out circular discs destined to become cartridge cases. The crash of the punch press resonates across the hall, followed by silence, then another strike, like the pulse of a growing heartbeat. Workers feed the presses tirelessly, each motion blending into the next. The small brass circles emerge hot to the touch, later stretched, shaped and drawn into narrow, glimmering cylinders, tiny shells taking form under the guidance of human labor. From there, the process moves deeper into the factory. The air grows warmer, filled with the scent of oil and metal. Here, women work at long tables, each equipped with nothing but small tools and keen eyes. They trim, polish, and gauge every cartridge casing by hand. Uniformed inspectors walk slowly along the aisles, holding micrometers, ensuring that each measurement aligns to tolerances measured in fractions of a hair's width. Every piece that is even slightly irregular is set aside, its surface gleaming under the pale white of overhead lamps. The rejected shells will not continue. Perfection, not speed, guides these rows. A new sound overtakes the steady hum, metallic tapping, light and deliberate. The assembly of bullet heads has begun. The copper-jacketed projectiles arrive separately, precision made in another workshop, and are carefully paired with their brass cases. Fingers move swiftly but with caution, seating each bullet into its casing using small hand levers and mechanical presses. They must fit with exact pressure, not too loose, not too tight. The weight of each round feels identical. The fingertips of each worker become instruments of calibration. From the perspective of the camera, hands move in patterns almost mechanical, but always human, guided by instinct and experience acquired over long shifts lasting 10, 12, sometimes 14 hours. Powder filling is perhaps the most delicate phase. In a separate room, sealed and guarded, rows of women, known at the time as fillers, measure the dark grains of propellant using brass scoops and precise scales. The environment is quiet, hushed by necessity. Even a spark here could turn the entire room into a flash of flame. Each charge is poured carefully into the open mouth of a cartridge, the movement steady and unbroken. The air is heavy with the faint odor of chemicals and the dryness of powder. Safety supervisors observe every gesture, reminding each worker never to scrape metal against metal. When the filling is complete, the cartridges move along wooden trays to the next group of workers, who crimp seals and mark each round with coded stamps that trace its origin to this exact table, this exact shift. Over time, the process becomes hypnotic, a choreography of labor where voice is replaced by rhythm, where conversation gives way to concentration. The camera lingers on faces streaked with oil and preserving an expression of quiet resolve. Outside, the world is at war, but here, the battle is one of endurance, of maintaining accuracy through exhaustion. By the end of every day, every worker knows they have assembled thousands of rounds, yet each bullet leaves their station individually inspected, touched, and approved by human hands. Behind the main halls, conveyors hum as they carry completed ammunition toward the packaging departments. Here, open crates wait to be filled. Workers wearing fabric gloves handle the bright brass carefully, stacking rows of cartridges with exact alignment. Labels are applied by hand: caliber, lot number, date, and factory code. Ink stamps mark each wooden box with military designations, symbols that will travel across oceans and continents to battlefronts far away. Nearby, scribes record production tallies, the numbers climbing higher each week, testament to the invisible war fought in spreadsheets and supply chains rather than trenches. The scale of production is astonishing. In factories like this across the Allied world, tens of millions of bullets leave assembly tables every month, yet for each round there is craftsmanship. Each casing polished to a mirrored finish, each primer seated with the careful push of a thumb, each batch weighed for consistency. Small groups of metallurgists run test firings in adjoining rooms, firing sample rounds into armored enclosures and measuring pressure and velocity with analog instruments. When a case ruptures or a primer fails, they trace the cause backward through ledgers and workstations until they find the source, perhaps a worn die or a faint misalignment in a worker's press. Then the adjustment is made, the flaw corrected, the rhythm restored. Through restored sound, we hear the background symphony of effort, the clink of brass against metal trays, the hum of ventilation fans, the faint whir of conveyor belts, and the steady ticking of clocks mounted high on the concrete walls. Every tick marks another moment in the relentless passage of wartime production. Messages on posters, yellowed with time, hang above the workers, reminders of precision, safety, and duty. One reads, "Every round counts." In these halls, the phrase carries no metaphor. It is literal truth. Each round assembled here may determine a life, a battle, or the course of the war itself. Between shifts, the cameras show brief images of rest. Workers stepping outside, removing gloves, stretching tired hands. The air outdoors is cool, filled with the smell of metal and smoke. Trains rumble nearby, already loaded with pallets of ammunition bound for transport depots. Inside, the machines never stop. Night crews take position at the benches without pause. Lamps remain lit, and the rhythm continues unbroken across days and weeks, until seasons themselves seem to blur. The factory becomes its own world, a sealed organism devoted entirely to the transformation of raw material into weapons of precision. Even as technology evolves, much of this process remains dependent on the hands that guide it. Machines press and form, but fingers calibrate and correct. A misaligned casing cannot be detected by a sensor, only by touch. During the war, thousands of women learned this craft, mastering the feel of metal and powder, the weight of a complete cartridge, the faint click of a perfect fit. Their contribution remains one of the quiet triumphs of wartime manufacturing, a labor force whose precision equaled any machine of the age. Gradually, the camera pans across finished ammunition, stacked in vast quantities, rows stretching into the distance until they fade into shadow. The voice of the narrator slows, almost reverent. These countless bullets, each once a circle of brass cut from a single sheet, represent the industrial will that powered entire nations. They are artifacts not only of war, but of discipline, organization, and belief in the power of human craftsmanship. In the quiet of the storage halls, their metallic glint reflects the lamps above, as if storing fragments of human energy within their shells. When the footage nears its end, the factory stands empty for a moment. The benches are silent, the machines still. The echo of labor lingers like memory in the air. Outside, peace will one day return, and many of these factories will close or change their purpose. But within these walls, the legacy of those who worked remains in every bullet that left their tables. Each round contained minute imperfections, invisible but human, traces of hands that guided them from raw brass to finished form. As the restored film fades to black, the narration concludes with quiet reflection. The story of this factory is not of machines alone, nor of war's destructive power, but of endurance, coordination, and unseen craftsmanship. Inside these workshops, the conflict of nations became a rhythm of hands, transforming base metal into the lifeblood of armies. Through their unending repetition, millions of small acts of precision gave rise to victory. And though decades have passed, the images preserved in this footage still speak of the sheer human effort behind every bullet ever fired, assembled by hand in countless factories like this, one by one, until the war itself was supplied. The film resumes from silence, the image flickering softly as though time itself hesitates before moving forward. The factory floor returns to life under the steady hum of electric lamps suspended from towering beams. Shadows shift over steel rafters, reflecting the slow passage of another working day. The camera glides between rows of benches where the same gestures repeat endlessly. Hands aligning cases, seating